sometimes life takes big pivots and things are not the path that we thought it was going to be for us. And the reality is that sometimes it's better.
Recently, I found texts on my boyfriend of 5 years' phone that appear to be organising to have sex with a sex worker, as well as messaging other girls to meet him out while he was working in another country. I don't know if this ever eventuated, but the messages were there setting it up. We don't see each other much as I work in Australia and he works overseas for a lot of the year. He has a much higher sex drive than me, and long distance / not much sex doesn't bother me, but it really bothers him. I haven't told my boyfriend I know this yet, and I haven't told any friends or family. I know as soon as I tell anyone, they will hate him and tell me the things that I would tell anyone else to break up with him. The problem is I'm 30 next year. I want to have a baby in the next 2 years, and I had my life pretty much sorted with him on paper. He has his faults, but he is my best friend. Oh, it's sad. The thing is, he makes an enormous amount of money and I don't. In our future, I know my children will be looked after and they won't have to struggle. I know I won't have to struggle financially, that is. I come from a family who doesn't have a lot of money, and being with my boyfriend means I know I can take care of them better than if I were just single on my own. Right now, I don't know whether to confront my boyfriend because I know as soon as I say this out loud, I can't take it back and it will mean that I have to break up with him, as cheating is not something I want in a relationship. Is it morally wrong to just look the other way because of the benefits this relationship brings me, my family, and my future family? I know this seems like a super obvious answer, but I know how hard life can be. Being with him means my life will in some ways be easier with him in it. Or if this will always be the back of my mind and ruin my happiness, even with the security it brings, help me, please. I feel like I'm old, have nothing to show for myself, and I'm scared I'll never be a mother if we break up now. Such a sad question.
I know how and what I want to say, and the problem is that it does emulate what your friends are going to say to you and the things that you would say to yourself if you spoke it out loud. And I want to tread carefully because, you know, you've said the reason why you don't want to tell your friends is because you know that they're going to tell you that you should not be in this relationship. And it is what I want to tell you as well, because I just don't think that the benefits of financial security in a relationship outweigh the necessity of trust, respect, and fidelity if that's what's important to you. There are people in the world who can be in relationships that are open relationships where they know that their partners are doing XYZ and they're okay with that. But this is a very different situation. You are not okay with it. You have said that you know it will mean that you need to break up with him, as cheating is not something that you want in your relationship. The reality is that whether you confront him about this or not, this type of behavior will continue to happen. And the only way that you can have a conversation about it that doesn't necessarily have to end in cheating, but at least brings everything to the surface and gives you and him the opportunity to work through it, is to tell him that you know. But yeah, I think it's... Look, I mean, my very, very initial response is that it is hard to maintain a relationship with someone who is seeking physical validation, whether that's with a sex worker or with whoever else he's texting. I would find it very hard to come back from that.
There's so many parts to this that I want to break down.
Yeah, same.
The first part is I want to validate your feelings of your financial insecurity and your issues around that, because that is a really huge issue. The cost of living is so expensive and it's really hard to make ends meet. And on top of that, if you want to have kids and you're not with a partner and you want to do that on your own, that's another expense. At the end of the day, you cannot deny that it's more expensive to be single. When you get into a relationship, everything, the stresses and the pressures and your financial stresses, everything halves, right? All of a sudden you're paying rent in a house on your own. Someone moves in, you halve it. You halve the groceries, you halve the bills. So if you're struggling a little bit, you have someone to rely on. Like, it is definitely has a comfort and a security. What you need to decide is what you want more. Because like Laura said, if you're okay with having that family life and kids and financial security, knowing your partner's off doing that, that's totally fine. As long as you are happy with that relationship, there's no right or wrong, but you've said you're not, and you've said you feel old. You said you're old and you worry it's not going to happen to you. I want to stop you in your tracks right there. You are not even 30 yet. You are 29 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't want to keep bringing this back to me, but it makes sense. I just want people to realize that it is not old and age is literally a number. Of course, that is not accurate when we're talking about your biological clock, But I only met my partner at 35. I only froze my first eggs at 33.
I met Matt at 31.
And you're 29. And I remember feeling, you always feel at that age like you are older and time is running out, but you're not. And it really distresses me that you think you need to settle down with someone that has these morals that don't align with yours because you think you're running out of time, because you're absolutely not. There is so much time. Laura and I went on The Bachelor at 30 years old. Like, we started that chapter of our life older than you are now.
I think, look, like we said, there's so many parts of this. And firstly, the cheating part, obviously, we need to go deep on that. But I think that more so than going deep on that, there's a self-esteem part to this. You are allowing your boundaries that you have in place to erode. And what happens when you don't stick to your boundaries? Your boundary being that the two of you agree to fidelity in your relationship. You go, okay, I'm going to turn a blind eye to this because I'm so scared that he's going to leave me, because I don't think I can get better than him, because I think he is the best person I'm ever going to date. Then the next time that he does something that is against what your boundaries are, it's a little bit worse, but you're already there. You already forgave one thing. So your boundaries continue to erode. And what we know is that as your boundaries erode, so does your self-esteem. And so does what you think you are valued at and what you can give in a relationship and what you can receive back. And as that happens, you will continuously put yourself second, third, fourth, fifth down the priority list. My fear for you here is the imbalance in this relationship, that you are creating allowances simply because he has a lot more money than what you do. And I guess for me, like you said, Britt, it really is a huge conversation for yourself as to whether you can be okay with it. You have said you're not okay. And I think most people wouldn't be. There may be some people who are able to turn a blind eye and physically be okay, but I would say that relationship's probably not based on love. It's based on a financial, beneficial situation. And that's not what your relationship is. You're not with him for his money. And if you are with him for his money, then that's a totally different relationship. So I think a conversation has to be had. I don't think you should be turning blind eyes to massive, massive fractures and to things that people do that really compromise the trust and respect that you have for each other. I think you have to have a conversation about it.
There'll be people that don't agree with this, but I truly believe not all cheating is equal. There are so many different categories of cheating. This kind of cheating, this isn't the kind of cheating where it's like, I found out my partner made a mistake. He went out, he was on a bucks, he got drunk, he's sorry, he's never done it before. This also isn't just premeditated, like he's having it with one person. He's booking sex workers. He is organizing sex and hookups with other random people. Like, there's a lot of premeditation here and a lot of commitment. And he's also going as far as to pay for it. I think that's different to slipping up one night and being really apologetic about it. So you're also still in your early days. You haven't had your kids and settled down long term yet. So if this is what he is setting up for your future, and this is the foundation he's saying, like, I'm already okay with this, it won't get better. It will get worse. When you are together for 10, 15 years, when you have kids, and kids, I don't have kids, as we all know, but I know that kids are not the Band-Aid. Kids are not going to fix a problem. Kids are going to add so much more stress and pressure. Chances are it could very well drive him further away if he's not already connected to you in that way. I think the best thing for you to do here, and it's really fucking hard, is to accept that this is the person that is in front of you.
Yeah.
You can have that conversation and see how he deals with it, but you know he's doing it. I don't think you will be able to live with that long term. Even if you say you're okay with it now, it will wear you down.
I second guess even the way that we've answered this question, because I think if you took away the financial aspects, I know how we would answer it. I know the response we would have, and it would be a lot more cutting and it would be a lot more pointed. I think the reason why we're trying to be so gentle is because it's obviously something that's so hard for you, and you are literally saying, I will put myself second. I will put myself second if this relationship will continue to financially benefit me in some way. I don't think, for your own sense of self, that you can continue in this relationship, regardless of the fact that he is your best friend, regardless of the fact that financially you're going to have to, figure out. But the reality is that sometimes life takes big pivots and things are not the path that we thought it was going to be for us. And the reality is that sometimes it's better. You will meet someone else. You will be in a new relationship. You'll be with someone where there's not an imbalance of power, where there's not an inequality, where you're not staying with them simply because they financially have money and they're cheating on you. Like, that's so Think about that. That is so fucked that you're like, I'm going to stay in this relationship. It's okay that he cheats on me because he takes care of me financially. I also want to say, I think it is a very bad idea to not speak to any of your family and friends about this, because family and friends, as much as sometimes they might be a little bit brutal, they're also very, very good at holding up a mirror to the values that we want in our life and to the things that we want. So do not isolate yourself from your family and friends for fear of the things that they will say. Talk to the people who you trust. Talk to the people who know him and who know you, because they are the people who will give you the most honest feedback. And I think that with that feedback, it will give you the confidence to figure out, okay, what are my next steps?
Reason I'm being gentle about it, and I am being gentle about it. Do I think you should stay in that relationship? No. But I'm being gentle because I understand. This isn't just a, hey, my boyfriend's cheating, I don't want to be alone. Should I stay? That's different. But you are not only putting yourself first, but your whole concern is around your extended family. So obviously he's making enough that you are helping them. So I understand you thinking walking away isn't just you. You think walking away could affect your parents in a way, or your siblings, or whoever it is that you are helping financially. That is unfortunately a lot of extra stress that you are taking on yourself. And I know a lot of people do take that stress on. So I totally get it. But you will meet somebody else and you will create another life with somebody, and you will be able to have kids with somebody. I don't want to say you will be able to, but the opportunity is going to be there. A lot of us get stuck in, we speak about it all the time, the sunk cost fallacy of we've put 5 years in and I'm already 30 and I don't want to waste the last 5 years. I don't want to start again having to meet somebody. And that is also a dangerous place to be, because you are not wasting that time. And I really want everyone to get their head around this. It took me a long time to get my head around it. You're not wasting that 5 years if you leave and start again. You've had an amazing 5 years with somebody. He was your best friend. You've created memories together. You've learnt from him. You know what you do and don't want. One of those things that you now know you don't want is a partner that cheats on you. You want somebody that is committed to you. You will find that.
But you may also not leave this relationship. Having a conversation with him about it and telling him you know and holding a mirror up to his behavior doesn't mean that you are taking the very first step and being like, fuck off, I'm out of here. Like, it doesn't mean that you're leaving right away, but it means that there are consequences for his actions, and that he knows you know. And so maybe, who knows, maybe that might kick him into gear. It rarely does, but it might. Like, she's not going to leave straight away. Like, she just isn't. She's going to have a conversation with him and give him the benefit of the doubt, and then see. But I would guarantee that if you spoke to your family and said, I am in a relationship with a man who cheats on me because it financially benefits all of us, your mum, your dad, your siblings, whoever is financially benefiting from this situation would be horrified.
Well, we don't know that.
I think they would be. I think, well, you can say we don't know that, but I think there would be very few parents who would encourage someone to stay in a relationship of infidelity because they felt the pressures too financially. I don't know.
My advice would differ. I wouldn't be telling my family right now, because that's just too much external pressure. Every single person in your life that you tell, I can guarantee you, will say, get the fuck out of there. And that's probably not what you need right now, because you already know that. I think you need to go in a bit more gently and get there on your own. There's no one that you are going to tell that's going to be like, oh, what a catch, like, stay, so it's real. But you do need to talk to someone. Definitely don't isolate yourself. But personally, the second you tell all your friends and family that's all they're going to be talking about. Why are you still with him? Have you had the conversation?
Yeah.
When are you leaving? Fuck him off. He doesn't deserve you. I'm not convinced you need that pressure right now. But whether you speak to somebody that is an acquaintance, like friendly but not, like that's who I used to download on, not my closest people. Maybe it's a therapist, like maybe it's professional help, but you shouldn't be keeping this to yourself. And I love that you've told us. We feel so grateful for that, but we're not there with you in the day-to-day.
I would love to know, Brie, like, what are your opinions on relationships that are based purely on financial gain, in terms of like, I'm going to be in this relationship with this person. I love them, but I'm going to turn a blind eye to behaviors that absolutely are so compromising to what I want in my life, but I financially benefit from this, so I'm going to stay.
It's not for me. But I have nothing wrong with it if it suits that couple. Like, I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum. If there's a relationship that's happy to make compromises, they still live happily together.
I mean, it makes you think there's loads of really unattractive, very, very, very wealthy men who get fucking hot as models. And it makes you question,
It's not their personality.
would she date him if he was poor?
No,
Probably not.
But that's what I mean. Finances play so much more of a role in relationships than we either A, want to admit and want to be truthful about, which is why she's told us and not her friends, because we're not going to judge her and we're not in her day-to-day life. We're not in her face. But finances are a huge thing. You cannot deny that. Even if it's not your most important thing, I can guarantee you there's not one person listening right now that hasn't thought about money today, even if you've got money.
100%, of course. But the thing is like, it's just not the security blanket that everyone thinks it is. Like, before proposing, he might make you sign a really aggressive prenup. Like, there's so many things that this is not a guaranteed for. And the other thing that it's not a guaranteed for is if you have a baby with this guy, if you start a family with somebody who is consciously cheating on you, what's that life going to look like when that kid's 3 or 4 or 5? Like, are you going to continue to turn a blind eye to this for the rest of your life? You okay with that? Yeah. Or are you going to raise children in an environment where their parents fucking have such a disdain for each other because one of them's cheating all the time?
But there's also the fact of, like, you're going to have to be doing constant STI check. How frequently is he with them? Like, you've got to look after your sexual health then. You've got to be hyper aware. If he wants to come home and have unprotected sex with you, you have to have the conversation. You don't have to break up with him. We're not saying that. What we are saying is have that convo and then you decide.